Blue Mountains span over 4,000 square miles of eastern Oregon and stretch into Washington state. The largely undiscovered, thick-wooded area is the perfect home for many wild animals, including Rocky Mountain elk, white-tailed deer, and mule deer. But there is one inhabitant that has made this forest infamous, and one lucky cryptid hunter who got it on camera.
Oh, there he goes.
In 1982, Paul Freeman claimed to have gotten his first glimpse of Bigfoot in these very mountains. And ever since, he dedicated his life to capturing the elusive beast on camera.
Yeah, looks like they've been here.
Day after day, he would grab his camcorder and head out into the blues. Paul Freeman passed away in 2003, but his son Michael remembers his dad's adventures in Bigfoot hunting clearly.
My name is Michael Freeman. Paul Freeman is my dad. In 1982, that's when he had his first encounter with Bigfoot. And that kind of set off a 15-year obsession, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, we're around this bush here. See what's going on here.
On August 20th, 1992, he came across some tracks that intrigued him.
Look at that.
Believing they could have been made by Bigfoot.
That summer in 1992 was particularly hot, and a lot of the water sources had dried up in that area. Now, Deduck Spring, where this photo was taken, was one of the viable water sources that was still being used by animals.
Sometimes they come here and get water.
My dad, knowing this, had been going up to that area for a couple weeks, actually, and he was finding footprint tracks up there, hair samples. He had been taking his camera. He was filming the collection of evidence.
Well, it looks like it's pretty fresh.
He would find stuff, but he would never have any sightings. And he would go back, the next day or the day after, and the same thing would happen over and over.
Yeah, he's going back up the road, come down the road.
The valuable thing that Paul Freeman contributed to the field really came from his casts of footprints, and they have been examined by experts. He was able to capture what are called dermal ridges in his casts. This is an indication of striations in the skin.
Paul followed the tracks, hiking further into the forest, and kept his camera rolling.
Can't see much up through here. I hear the brush popping and stuff. Oh, there he goes.
Jesus. He came home. I remember he came to the door and he was yelling for my mom. He was visibly shaking. He was pale in color. You could tell that something had upset him and something had bothered him.
Oh, God.
It's the only time in my life, including the day that he died, that I ever saw my dad scared of anything. And that right there to me, I don't have to see one. That's the only proof I'll ever need for the existence of this animal, just knowing my dad and how that affected him.
The interesting thing about paranormal research or hunting Bigfoot, people can be skeptical, but you cannot deny the impact that these sightings have had on the people who saw the activity.
Jesus. What can you say? Your dad comes home and he's got something like this on video, and you watch it and you rewatch it and then you watch it again and you say, well, that's not a bear. It's not a man. It's nothing I've ever seen. And yeah, it was exciting. It was an exciting time.
Oh, there he goes.
This is probably the most dynamic Bigfoot footage that I've ever seen.
The movements of this creature look very natural.
Doesn't look like a man in a suit. The height looks right, the weight looks right. I feel like this would be difficult for a man to hoax all on his own and the word not get out.
Oh, God. Feel my heart beating 40 miles an hour.
I believe that he saw Bigfoot. I know my dad. I grew up with my dad. I know what kind of person he is. And the sheer reaction of seeing the way that he acted, of knowing that something had actually frightened my dad, who I saw as being Superman, basically. Growing up, big guy, tough guy, brave guy, someone who wasn't afraid of any man or beast, on this earth, to actually be rattled and scared by something. I don't need any more proof than that.
Gotta be tracks here somewhere in this road. Oh, here's one.
For somebody to devote their whole life to a field like Bigfoot searching and squatching, to finally get something on camera is a huge deal.
Yeah, they've been all over this in there.
This video was taken in the beginning of the home video camera era, so I feel like it opened the floodgates for people investigating Sasquatch and ghostly activity.
No matter what Paul Freeman saw in the woods that day, one thing is for certain. This video left not only a lasting impact on his son, but on the world of cryptozoology.
Oh, God.
Next to the Patterson-Gimlin footage of 1967, this is the apex of Bigfoot footage.
Now his evidence is being looked at by a whole new generation that's a little more accepting of the subject. I really do wish that he would have lived long enough to see this surge of popularity for the subject. I think it's something he deserved that he never got. So proud. That's my dad.
Oh, there he goes. Jesus.